close one. Hey gang, what's up? How are we doing? What's going on? It is Wednesday. It is time. So I'm, pardon me. I'm still figuring out my configuration here. So every week it gets a little bit different. And so how are we? It is May 13th. We are here in Hollywood Gatekeepers, and we have a handout. It's very exciting today. So the handout's not working. Hang on one second. I'm going to make sure that you get this handout. So happy Wednesday. What's going on? Have we been coming to homeroom? Some of you have. Homeroom has been really fun. I really love homeroom. We get a lot done, and it's been really, really good. So definitely come into homeroom if you haven't been there before. We meet every morning at 8:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Mountain, 11:30 Eastern. So you definitely want to be doing that. And hold on one sec. I'm getting you the handout. I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty. So we are live right now, both in the Facebook group and on YouTube. So you can grab the handout. We are going to talk today. We are doing a series of handouts and sessions, if you will, training sessions on what it is to be productive, things that can help you be productive. So the handout that we have today is, you can get it at, hold on, and I will show you. We want to help you because we know that during these times, people are having a hard time being productive. So we wanted to give you as many things as we could to help you with that. So that's what, yes, okay, there's the handout. There's the handout. And so as you know, or maybe you don't know, depending on, let me get your chat up so I can say hello to people that are arriving. I have coaches, Brooke Castillo, I'm in the Life Coach School, and then Evan Pagan. Thank you, Joy. You've been a little sleepy, but you've been going. That's good. You show up, bring your coffee, it's all good. So hello, Carolina, nice to see you. And Sarah and Christina, yay. Woohoo! You got your first gig reading for a film festival day and should hear from AFF tomorrow. You go. You have been jamming. You have been jamming. I just emailed you too, right? Yes, I did. Awesome. Wait. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I see the note, the thing about Kelso. And I'm like, what? Okay. Playing dumb. Yes. Playing Kelso in the 70s show and Travolta in Welcome Back, Kotter. Like, it can be an art for sure. And so we're going to talk about the butterfly effect today. And the butterfly effect, I think, as well, was an underrated movie. Like, I think it was a good movie that was underrated. Turn off my dinging. Sorry about that. So we thought we would talk about the butterfly effect in terms of productivity. So we're going to be doing these trainings. Hey, Deb. We're going to be doing these trainings every week that are all about productivity. And so today, we're talking about the butterfly effect. And so when you go into the handout, you will see that you need to enter your name and email. And the reason that we do that, I explain it every week, is so that we know what you're clicking on. It just helps us know what you like. So if no one downloads a certain topic, we're like, okay, well, don't need to do that anymore. Productivity is one of the most common things that we get asked about, is how do I be productive? How do I get things done? It's one of the things, productivity and money. When we do money trainings, people show up to those too. So we thought we'd do a series of them. We're actually creating a whole productivity course that will be part of our new version of Finished, which is our course on how to finish a screenplay. So we thought we would really dive in deep. So we're testing out a few of the sessions to see, what kind of questions that you have, to make sure that it's resonating. We figure that way you guys can practice, and then we're going to shape it, put more handouts, put more stuff with it, and it's really going to be like smoking productivity. So let's take a look-see, shall we? So I wanted to talk about the butterfly effect because I think it's really fascinating, for one thing. And let me share. I'll go ahead and share my screen, because I know that some of you have trouble with the handout. So let me share my screen. Well, that's not it. Try that again. Let me try. So now I'm working also with 2 monitors, which is way too hard for my little brain. So let me try that one more time. Try it this way. This is how much I love you. Hang on. I got this. I got it. Hold on. Here, I know. Let me get smart. Okay, this will work. She's on it. If I can find my mouse. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Chrome tab. You're seeing that, right? The butterfly effect. We all seeing that? You can do it. You can do it. We did Monday mapping was really bad because we had several things I was trying to share, but I think we got it right. You guys can all see that because I can see it in StreamYard. So I'm thinking you can too. So let us, hold on. Let's go through this, shall we? You guys know what the butterfly effect is? Have we heard of the butterfly effect before? Have we seen the movie? Oh, well, that's not gonna work. Okay. I got this. Okay, so the butterfly, almost knocked my water off the table. That would be kind of bumpy start I'm having here. The butterfly effect is this concept that if a butterfly flaps its wings in Beijing, could the wave of that flapping go all the way and trigger a storm in Kansas? So I love this concept. I think it's really, really interesting. And so how deep can a ripple effect go? And we talk a lot in Hollywood Gatekeepers about the ripple effect because we really believe so wholeheartedly in the ripple effect. And we really feel that's why we do all this coaching, because we're really passionate about the fact that if you are a reader and you can have your life to a point to where you love what you're doing and you're excited, and life is going to be good and bad and all kinds of things. But if in general, your basic life is, you're pretty content in your life, you are going to be, let me try and make this bigger, sorry. You're going to be a better reader. You're going to be nicer to the people that you're reading screenplays for. You're just going to be more fun to work with. She can do it. Okay. So as you look at, the ripple effect that has, it makes it so that you're just better to be around because you're happier in your life. Then you're writing coverages and you're not getting angry and you're not being so, you're not being obnoxious in your coverage because you had a bad day. You're able to come at a place with your coverage and with, presenting this to a writer or producer, whoever it might be, in a way that's helpful because you're happy and your life is going as well as can be. So that's why we do all of this coaching, because we really believe hardcore in the ripple effect, because then that ripple effect is going to make the writer feel more at home, the producer feel more relaxed, and they're just, when you're in a better place that we're going to get you to here today, you come from a calmer place, and then you're able to be more creative. And I mean, tell me in the chat, like, what are some, everything is so connected, right? So what are some of the places where you feel, where you have the most creative breakthroughs, like, right? Like, where are some of the times when you have these moments of pure creativity and you have a breakthrough? Often they are when we're going for a walk, when you're working out. I wake up in the morning usually just flooded with ideas. So I have a journal by my bed, and one of the things I came up with today is like perfect for this. So it's like those moments, showering. A lot of people come up with ideas in the shower. It's like, yep, in the shower, exactly. So it's like, those are the moments, because those are the moments when you're relaxed and you're letting go a bit. And so if you can find those moments as much as possible, and you can be that conduit of that moment for others, that's where the gold is. And that's what we're trying to be. I know I'm kind of wacky, whatever, but really want to be that ground base for you, as much as we mess around and I'm like, I can't get the handout to work and all that kind of stuff. what we're trying to present here is a really solid base for you to jump off into whatever you want to do. So it really is, yeah. So that's why take a pen into the bathtub, carry a journal everywhere, like Sean. Sean's not here right now, but she feels like a bajillion journals. So, but these are the this is the place that we want you to live as much as possible, is in this sort of content, open, free space, so that you can inspire others to be there too. That's why we're creating the, coaching and consulting. It's like why we really feel that obviously screenplay analysis is the base of what you're doing, but it's on top of life coaching, or being a coach for that writer, or being even a coach for a producer, where you can be that strong force for them. Exactly, Joy, solid foundation. So when you think about what is your flutterby, which I think is a much better name for butterfly, but when you think about, what are your moments of butterfly effect that you might have that starts in different places. So when you take a deep breath and you relax, like, where do you feel that most? Or if you stop for a second and check into your body, where are you holding tension? Some people feel like their throat's constricted. Some people feel this thing in their stomach. Some people, their back hurts, their hip hurts, whatever. We get migraines. Like, everybody's a little bit different. Some people get fibromyalgia, or their skin, or there's so many different ways it can manifest. But this idea of this small little thing, which I actually often call the teaspoon approach, which I absolutely love this in many different ways, but the teaspoon approach, meaning it's those small little actions that you take on a daily basis that add up and add up and add up and add up to being the tsunami, or being the, the storm, or in terms of health, if you eat, the teaspoon approach of eating something a little bit healthier every day, and you just sort of add on and add on, pretty soon the overall, effect of that is gigantic. It's enormous how you can just change your life by really taking these little teaspoon approach, the butterfly effect approach. So like, when are these times when you have butterfly, you actually call it butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous, right? When you're upset about something, it feels fluttery. Sometimes people talk about a heart murmur or a heart flutter. Like, we have these ways of, like, anxiety could be that kind of feeling of a butterfly feeling, or a fluttering kind of feeling. And so if we can tap into, when are we doing that? When is our little butterfly effect happening? When is that? When are we coming out of the caterpillar goo, which is a whole other story, which we toyed with for tonight. But when you're coming out of that place and you're getting these butterflies and you're feeling nervous about something, like, what's going on there? And that's what we're going to kind of explore here tonight, as to what are those things, like compounding. I love the concept of compounding in terms of money and compounding interest. It's amazing how it's like, it's really, and I think that that's true when we don't deal with stuff in our life, that it's like, oh, it kind of bugs me, I'm a little like, rah! And pretty soon we're like, I don't know, calling people names. I don't know. But it comes out in different ways, right? So what are the ways that this can exasperate or grow or mountain out of molehills? What I put, like, our primal brains are so crafty, right? Like, we want to make sense out of things, and we are storytellers at our nature. And I attended this, it was actually a real estate course the other day, but they were talking about numbers and how we aren't really wired initially for numbers. We're wired for action. We're wired for storytelling. So we make up stories. Our primal brain, if we don't understand something, will fill in the gap and make up a story, which is why storytelling is so important, and why us being storytellers and helping tell stories and helping others tell stories is so important, because that's our culture. We pass it down. That's how we learn. That's monkey see, monkey do. Like, all of that is how we learn. And so this guy was talking about numbers in terms of, we treat numbers and money like hunters. We need to go out and make a living, and we need to get that money, just like we used to need to, kill the saber-toothed tiger. It's like so that's why conversations about money can be so unnerving, because it's not really an inherent thing. We've put an inherent thing on top of it, which can make it really dicey, right? So I absolutely love that concept of numbers in that way, and why so many people are so uncomfortable with the whole idea of talking money and being about money. because we'd rather tell a story about it. That's why we have money issues, because we tell a story about our money. We tell a story about why we're doing things. We tell a story about why we did do something or didn't do something. We have stories about all of it. We relate to each other with stories. We like really look at, we judge each other by the stories that either we're making up about each other, we're making up about ourselves and what we think, we're making up. If someone gives you the cold shoulder and the silent treatment, you go, well, that's because they're blah, 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 blah. You start making up the reason why. If they don't tell you why, you'll make up that story. That's just inherently what we do. So because we're such storytellers, I think our primal brain, like they did this study where they had someone hypnotized. And if you watch those hypnotist shows or whatever, and they hypnotize someone, if you hypnotize someone and you put an umbrella in their hand, and then you wake them up and you say, there's an umbrella in your hand. Why are you carrying an umbrella? The person will go, oh, it must be raining. They'll make up that they don't know why they have an umbrella in their hand, but they'll come up with the story. So it's like we do that just inherently. I think it's fascinating that we will, and sometimes those stories are like, what? Like, that's not what I meant at all. That's very, really, communication is a series of misunderstandings. I mean, that's what we're constantly doing, and constantly understanding each other. And so I'm constantly telling stories and try to mold this whole thing. So if you can really get a handle on your own stories, what you're telling yourself, if you can get a handle on that thing that makes you kind of uptight and upset. So we want to make sense out of things. We want to make sense out of our tasks and the things that we have to do. So if you look at the things that you're doing throughout your day, and you're just feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, which we'll talk about in a moment, but there's all this stuff going on and you're super disorganized, you can't seem to get it together, and there's just all this stuff and all these things are happening. I think multitasking is what they call context switching. When we context switch, which is what you're watching me do badly, I'm terrible at it, and I own that I'm terrible at it because I don't think it's a good thing. I used to say, oh, I can do that, and people say, oh, women can multitask better than men, whatever. I think no one's really good at it. I think some of us are able to. I think if you have a lot of children, you're forced into it a little more. But in general, this idea of, but if you have 8 children, you try to make all their lunches at once, right? It's those little kind of ways of coping with that we create for ourselves, as opposed to making Johnny's lunch and then 3 hours later you make Sarah's lunch. It's like you start to try to contextualize and organize. We just naturally do that as well. And the more that we don't do that, the more we context switch, the more we multitask, the more we get sucked into social media, the more, if you have those moments. Sometimes for me, it can be email where I'm just going to answer one email, and then 3 hours later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still answering emails. Like, it can be this rabbit hole that you get sucked into. So what we want to do today is we want you to start to make a list. You ready? Or what are your internal butterflies? What are those things that really kind of sends you down the rabbit hole? Like, write them down. Really look at what are those things that send you down the rabbit hole. What are they? Like, let's take a look, right? Let's take a look at them. Another thing that can really be this thing, because those suck your energy. This is why we're doing this. There is a reason for all of this. It's not just to torture you and make you look at the things that you're not getting done. So when you think about the things that veer you off down a rabbit hole, that get you into trouble in terms of suddenly 3 hours have gone by and what you wanted to do, you never got to. If you find that there's a lot of things that are left undone, all of these things take your energy. There's a thing called decision debt, which Rick Steele talks about this. I absolutely love this, or decision deficit is what Evan Payne calls it. And every course I've taken in building an online business, all of the teachers that teach all the different aspects of it, whether it's how to build your email list, or how to build your website, or how to all these courses I've taken to how to do an online business, they all start with this. Because doing anything, getting all of this stuff done, is 90% your headspace, 90% being able to focus and get things done, 90% your mindset. It's really like, what is that saying? Like 80%. Perspiration, inspiration, I don't know. But it's like a lot of your head, basically. That's a super technical way to say it. It's your head. So the more that you can kind of get a handle on this and understand your own things that are blocking you, the more you will spend the time doing the things that you say you want to do, as opposed to the things that you're doing, which is often different. So if you find that you're spending a lot of time doing things that you don't want to do it well. And I say this a lot, that if you find you spend your whole day running around like a chicken with your head cut off, making sure that everything's done for everybody, that's not a task issue. That's not a taskless management. That's not a time management issue. That's a boundary issue. That's you running around because you can't say no. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you find that for the most part, you're getting some things done, but you've got those things that you really want to do and you're never able to get to them, part of the thing that's holding you back are these things that context switching, because it takes so much more time because you have to catch up. If you're doing emails and then you go over here to do something over here and build your website for a little while, and then you come over here and then you answer a phone call, every time you come back to what you were doing before that, it takes a few minutes or a few seconds even if it's just a few seconds, to get back to where you were. And sometimes you'll even forget important things in the midst of all of that. So it's not efficient. So the more that you're doing that, the less efficient that you are. And the more that you are allowing these butterfly things that you're not dealing with, the more you allow them to live and kind of be part of your psyche, the less productive and the less relaxed you will be about being productive. You want to be able to move from thing to thing and get things done without it being like, oh my God, I gotta do this. And we all have moments. I had one right before, because I'm getting on here and I'm trying to figure out this new setup, and there's always little things, but you know what, in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty freaking fantastic. And I say this a lot too, that if we're here right now, life is sweet. So it's finding these moments where, what are things that are holding you back in that way? What are 80-20 rule, exactly. What are the things like that are holding you back, and what are the things that you worry about? And we did this last week a little bit, like, what are the things that you're worried about? But what are those butterfly things that send you down a rabbit hole that you have anxiety about, that you're shoving down all the time? And then on another element of that are, what are the things that are not finished? What are some things that are just unresolved, that you have never gotten to, that you said you were going to do and you haven't done, relationships that are still kind of hanging on, that just aren't working, or maybe you're in an argument with someone, you never quite solved it. Like, what are some of those? Those are huge. Those things suck away so much of your energy if they're bugging you. If they're not bugging you and you could let them go, great. But if there's those things, that thing you said you do, but you don't really want to do, like, what are those things? Write those down. Figure that out. And I have one, a big one, that has been following me around with, I volunteer with a lot of philanthropy. And so I'm on some boards, and there's things that I said that I would do. And it's like, really don't want to do it. A lot of paperwork, a lot of like building business stuff behind the scenes. People don't know how to file their 501c3, that kind of thing. So I've said that I would do it, and it's like, I really don't want to. So I keep putting it off. I keep doing a piece of just enough so that it's done enough, but it's never quite done the way that I want it to be done. Basically, I'm putting my own things on it as well. This is a big one for me. This is one of my unfinished things that bugs me. So just yesterday, I was like, enough. I'm diving in. Oh my goodness, the amount of creativity I had when I woke up this morning, because I spent several hours just diving in and setting out a plan. I didn't even finish it. I'm just setting out a plan to finish it over the next week. And so it's like just having that plan, knowing, okay, I'm going to do this. That's going to lead to this. That's, holy smokes. Like, I woke up with such freedom and so much more energy and so much, and it wasn't even that, I knew it wasn't going to be hard. And I even had said to myself several times, like, it's going to be fine once I just dive in, but I just didn't want to. And here's something that Brooke Castillo talks about, which I really, really love. Oh wait, I'm going to get to that. I'm kind of following the list. So I keep looking over there. We've got like it's so fancy. I have like what do you call it? Prompter. So what are the things that are left undone, whether they be screenplays or relationships or projects, things that we wanted to do but never did? So write those down and then figure out, circle, whatever, the ones that weigh you the most. Like, what are the ones that you carry around that kind of bug you, that you just never quite get to? Or there's someone that's kind of going, you said you would do that thing, are you going to do it or not? What's going on with you? So to be able to answer to that and kind of really know that those are the ones, like, let's identify them, because that moves us into looking. And really, honestly, if there's one thing in this world that will change your life, it's looking. And looking at your health problems before you're in the emergency room, looking at your finances before you get the eviction notice, looking, as hard as it can be, Looking is the thing ahead of time that will change your life. Stephen Covey says, awareness builds momentum. Where focus goes, energy flows. There's all kinds of sayings about the fact of being aware and looking at what you're doing. Like it is mind-blowing. We're in a mastermind with these amazing women. One of them has helped all of us in this mastermind figure out our tracking system of tracking so that we know where you guys are. Like, what do you need and what's going on? It's really hard to track the amount of people that we have that come through our programs. And she helped us figure it all out. It's been game changing and it's been like, this Excel sheets and blah, blah, blah. But she loves it. So she digs in there and then she helped us figure it out. But this idea of like looking, she's changed my life. Following her map of how she does it has completely changed how I see everything. Because when I realized that, oh, this has been going on and I was missing all this stuff that's happening because I wasn't looking. Now I'm looking every week. Now I have a system of looking. And it's like, I feel just like so much lighter. It's amazing. So this idea of like, what haven't you dealt with? What do you need to look at? It's okay. And the thing that Brooke talks about that I was starting to mention, I got ahead of myself because I love this concept, is that often we don't do, so think of those things that are weighing you down, right? Just pick one. It's pretty easy to pick your top three, right? Pick one that's weighing you down, like this project I was mentioning. Like pick one that's like, it's weighing me down. Why aren't we doing it? Chances are the reason that you're not doing it, the reason you're putting it off, the reason that you're not healing that relationship or trying to reach out to someone or whatever it might be, is because you're afraid of the feeling that goes with that. You're afraid to feel the feeling of that thing. But if you think about it, most likely, and for me, it's true 100% of the time, as I think about that, I'm feeling that very thing in the moment that I'm afraid of. It's so astounding to me because it's that thing of like, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm just going to feel, and then I'm feeling, because you're projecting yourself forward, you're future casting into that moment, you're going to feel all these things and you're feeling it. And look, I'm okay. We're here. Here I am. So being able to just sit with the feeling, be okay with the feeling, it doesn't mean that you have to, even act on that feeling in terms of like, it makes me feel so mad. It makes me so angry. That means I better call him. And blah, blah. It doesn't mean that you have to act on that and do something rash, but feel the feeling, because that's the thing that's holding you back. That's the thing that's making you tired. That's the thing that's making you overwhelmed. That's the thing that's making you so confused. Confusion, overwhelm, fatigue, all of those, I think, are choices. All of those are, when we have those moments, is because we're choosing that over choosing the feeling of the thing that's weighing on us. And it's so freeing when you can go, oh, I'm not overwhelmed. I really don't want to deal with that particular thing, which is fine. And you can make the choice of, I'm not going to deal with that right now, but feel the feeling and be aware. The more that you can sit in the feeling, the easier it will be, the more you'll be able to make better choices, the less decision debt that you will have. This to me has been one of the most freeing things that I've ever learned from Brooke Castillo, is this idea of just being able to sit with it. And it's not even so, right? It's so true, right? Just it's like you sit there and go, oh, it's gonna make me feel like I don't want it to, it's gonna make me feel lonely, or it's gonna make me feel, but as you're feeling it, like it's astounding. And it's so like, oh, I'm feeling that right now and I'm actually okay. So, and it's not even about this, just do it and power through, and even to some degree, no pain, no gain, like that you got to go through the pain and face. It's not even that. It's about doing it with sort of love and being sacred about it, and honoring yourself in that way, and being gentle and being like, no judgment about it. It's okay. It's okay to feel those things, and it's okay to feel like you don't want to do something. That's all right. But to have it weigh on you and then not actually do it because it's weighing on you, that can also get you trapped in a victim mentality, which we're not going to get into too far. But definitely when I see people go, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed because this is happening and that's happening and this is happening, and oh, my life's so crazy. Like, do you know people that are like that, right? And I've been like that in my own life. Like it's a pretty common thing. Oh, things are just so crazy. It's like, what is that? Why do we do that to ourselves? I think partly it's you get attention. There's a secondary gain. that happens. And that's what we have. This is the next thing, is like, what kind of significant thing is happening? You can get significance out of that. You can be important. You can get attention. You can, there's so many, usually when there's something that you don't say that you don't want or don't like, or you're doing some kind of action that's not benefiting you, it's benefiting you in some way. It might not be the way that you're wanting, but it's benefiting you in some way. If you're not able to make the money that you need to survive, there's something in there. There's some mindset that's happening where you're benefiting. Like maybe it's that, and you might not actually be benefiting in terms of you're not making enough money, but there's some belief in there that makes you think, well, if I live with this place where I'm not doing the thing I said I was going to do, or I'm not making the money I said I was going to make, then that means someone's going to feel better because they're going to have to take care of me. Often that's something that we do, so that our partner feels better because we need them. And if I make more money than my partner, then they might not need me anymore and they might leave me. So we can tell us, again, we can make up these stories, right? So we can make up these stories, and there's the secondary gain. So whenever you're like frustrated that you're not getting something that you want, be honest with yourself and go, okay, what am I getting out of this scenario? Even if it's a scenario that you hate, if you're in it, you're making that choice to be in it. So even if it feels like it's out of your control and it's not something I can control and it's not my fault and I can't do it and it's all them and they did that and over there and that guy too, what's the one common denominator? So it's like, if you're in these scenarios, especially if you have the same scenario, which we do often, we learn the same lesson in many different ways. And so when you see the same thing, then it's like, oh, hello, that's me. It's not you, it's me. And it really is me. So it is like, we will make up a story to say, well, it's okay that I'm not getting this thing done because I'm so overwhelmed. It's just a story you're telling. And I love Brooke Castillo will be like, until you start to tell yourself, yeah, well, that's the same BS I told myself yesterday. Until you start to kind of not buy your own story. So then you can rewrite it. And then when you start by saying, okay, yeah, I heard that yesterday and it didn't really get a story we want, so come on. And I've said this before too, that even if it's the story of, even if the voice is like, it's okay, you don't need to do that, just let it go. Sometimes that voice will come in and be like, oh, you deserve, that's one of my favorites, you deserve to eat the whole like pizza by yourself, you deserve it. And then later you feel like hell, like you can't figure out, why can't I get off the couch? Because you just ate an entire pizza. Because your brain went, no, you deserve it. Like, so it can be sneaky. Your little brain is sneaky and it comes at you in all different kinds of ways. So if you can look at what is the secondary gain of that, dang, that pizza is really good. Like, what is this? There is all kinds of secondary gains there, right? But if it's not the ultimate result that you want, then just being aware, starting to look, no judgment, whatever, we're all work in progress. Everyone is a work in progress. Then you can start to figure it out. And so one of the things that you can do is visualize. So think about those top 3 things. And that's exactly what I did with this project I didn't want to do. And this project, I mean, it's kind of a silly example because it's not all that, it's not super, that's whatever, but it's been bugging me for a while. So months actually. So I even brought the paperwork, this is how bad it was, with me on what I thought was going to be my vacation. I brought that paperwork. That's how much it was bugging me. Oh, maybe I'll do it. And now it's been months and I've been here in Montreal and I've finally yanked that stuff out. But before I did it, I went through this process, which was visualizing it ahead of time. Going like, okay, I need to do this thing that I haven't wanted to do, that it's been bugging me because I'm afraid if I do that, it's going to make me feel this way that I'm already feeling. You with me here? So if you can visualize, okay, this is what I'm going to choose to feel instead. I'm going to be proud of myself for stepping in there. I'm going to think about the ultimate result that I want. And you're going to start visualizing before you even actually do anything. And I did this for days, okay, weeks, actually, a couple of weeks. Okay. And I kept saying, I'll start it tomorrow. And I was still procrastinating. But every time I would say, I'll start tomorrow, I would visualize the whole thing again and how easy it was going to be and how I'm just going to, and it was. It was actually fine. But the really cool thing that happens when you start doing this is that you can shape it into something else. So what ended up happening is I woke up this morning being so much more creative. And so then it was like, oh, not only do I want to finish this thing, but I want it to morph my position from being the person that's going to help out and do. I want to be spontaneously generous and help nonprofits. I do. But I can do that without doing all the grunt work of doing all the paperwork. Like, there's plenty of people that can do that. I have other things that I can offer that light me up. So why am I volunteering? And I call it helium hand. I got this. Why am I volunteering to do the things that I don't want to do because nobody else wants to do them? There are things that I can bring. I have value that I can offer that will be wonderful. So I can shift the relationship. Do the thing I said I was going to do, but then use that as the jumping off point to shift the relationship. And this can happen in, if it's a relationship issue, how can you take the relationship that's maybe, not finished, or you're having a conflict with someone? Is there a way that you can reframe that relationship? Relationships, I feel, they come and they go. And thinking about that ice cream sundae, right? Totally. The relationships, I think, come and go, and they ebb and they flow. And sometimes people come into your lives because there's a match at that time. And then sometimes the relationships need to either end or shift or morph. If you have a relationship that just hasn't, it's like a square peg in a round hole, it just hasn't quite been gelling anymore, and you're just trying to figure out, it doesn't necessarily mean maybe it needs to end, but doesn't necessarily mean that. Is there a way that relationship, is it partly because you're telling yourself a story that relationship needs to stay what it was? Kind of like this example I gave last week where the woman was like, well, you can't move this desk because it's always been right here. So are you doing that with relationships too? Saying, no, this relationship means this to me. And if you do that with a relationship, you can't grow. And so can you say, that's what this relationship was? And maybe it even becomes that relationship was something that was with you for that time period. Maybe it does need to, for their benefit as well. So maybe you're hanging on to a relationship that's not benefiting them either, because you think you tell some story that it has to be a certain way. Is it possible you can rewrite that story? You're writers. Can you rewrite the story so that it's something different? Can you reframe a relationship that's been troublesome and have a new perspective of it? And that's what got me thinking this morning with a relationship with a former family member, my brother's ex-wife. She causes a lot of havoc in our family. But she has made us all come together. We've grown tremendously because of it. And it made me realize, she has a tendency to leave a wake. We always kind of joke about it. She leaves like just chaos wherever she goes. And it's like, well, just because you're leaving a wake, just because someone is leaving a wake, it doesn't mean that we all need to swim in it. And I absolutely love that image. They can leave the wake all they want. I don't need to dive in there. I'll go swim over here where I can float on my raft and drink tea. It's like, let the wake go. You still have a relationship and be like, hey, you on your speedboat that's going too fast and you're, about to crash into that tree. Watch out for the rocks. I'll be over here. You can still appreciate it. You can say, let me get my nephew out there. He's going to come on the raft with me. But, you can appreciate whatever they're doing and not swim in their wake. So I really think that all of this, and I know it's like productivity, these are the things that weigh us down, that prevent us from going, you know what today I'm going to do? Today, what am I going to do? Oh my God, I've got to do this. How many days do we wake up like that? I woke up this morning like, I'm so ready. So excited. Talk to Bobby Moresco today. He's going to come in and talk to our insider track. He wrote Crash. So excited. He's such a good guy. So he's like, I'm living the gentleman's life in New York. Whatever you need. Just awesome. It was a great day. And I think part of that was because I wasn't like, oh, I got to do that thing. It's so silly. And that's the story that we tell. Oh. So I really think the more that we can, know that that's the thing. And honestly, that thing about realizing the feeling that you're trying to avoid is the feeling that's within it. Like, yeah, it's so good, right? And there's been and you can ask Doug. Doug and I'm always like, well, I don't know what to do about this. What do I do about that? And so we're constantly texting. I was getting frustrated with stuff that I'm trying to figure out. Whatever. I feel so much better now, right? It's like this, we're always trying to figure out, we're always, Doug and I are constantly going back and forth, and Joy too, like we're always, and Sheree too, we're always going back, maybe if we tried that, maybe we should do that, how about if we did this? Like it's just, it's all the time. And it's really fun. And it's because we're thinking of you and how can we support you and what can we bring to you. So I really think, yeah, it can be really hard. It's a really good point, Anna. It can be really hard to let go. And sometimes you do need to let go. And sometimes you let go, but you replace it with something else. So it doesn't necessarily mean, I love this idea that you let go of something that's painful. But while you're doing that, you fill up that spot with like, I've been working with Annie, and she is like she uses her imagination in ways that just inspire me. She's unbelievable. But she would say something like, she says things like, it's like you take your feeling out of the closet and you try it on. And then you go, do I want this feeling? Nah, I think I'll take this one off. Like she does that kind of thing all the time. And so it's like you're taking whatever that painful thing you had a relationship, and it's leaving kind of a hole. And then you go, oh, I think I've got this picture, and there's this like beautiful light, beautiful, whatever your favorite color is, turquoise, purple goo, and it's just floating, and it's just going to fill up my heart and fill up that empty spot with something that's soft and squishy and lovely. So it's not going to be, and she talks about that with physical pain. If you have something that's hurting too, and you just fill it up with this like things that can get into those crevices. If you have an arm that's hurting and you fill up that arm full of the crevices of this lovely, beautiful goo, right? Just love it. It's so like the power of our mind is so spectacular. So being able to take that hurt spot and just whatever it is for you, fill it up with something that's lovely and comforting, whatever that might be. It's warm and cozy or cool and refreshing or whatever you need. Whether maybe you're rinsing away. That's another way to do it. You're gonna shower and just gonna get into some Hawaii river and you're just gonna rinse it all off. It's so good, right? So these things, being able to let those things go, being able to know, look, and see what are the things that are weighing me down. So if you can deal with those things, your life will open up in ways you can't even imagine. And then you'll finish your screenplay. And then you'll be able to get everything done that you want to get. So I really, really think, yeah, you guys are so insightful. Yeah, definitely. We don't grow in spite of our traumas and breakups and things that happen to us. We grow because of our breakups and traumas and things that happen to us. I said that last week too, and I'll say it a million times because it's so, so true. If you've been through any kind of trauma, it's amazing how it can shape you. And you see that two people can go through a trauma, and one person, it can destroy them, and one person, it changes them to a whole new enlightened being. And so it's like, how can we really look at those traumas, and how can we really look at the, the mind and mental things to be able to be as healthy as we possibly can. So really, like, yeah, exactly. Changing that, reframing that perspective, reframing the relationship so that it's not necessarily what you rewrite your story about it. And look at when you think of that relationship and you're feeling whatever it is that's making you afraid of dealing with that relationship, that feeling, you're feeling it. So welcome it, give it love. It's okay. You're still here. We have 100% survival rate. Here we sit. So being able to kind of embrace all of that together. Because when you start doing that, you'll see your magnificence, because you all have it. Every single person, everyone has it. It's your right to be magnificent and to do the things that you want to do and to let all these things go. And this is the daily work. And if we can do this daily work and we can do this mind work, everything else just like, yay us, right? Totally. Take that, put that in your cap. Put that on your raft and float down the river and stay out of someone else's wake and just have fun with it. So we'll be back next week. I don't know what the topic is, but it's another productivity one. We're just going to do a few, they probably for the month of May. And then we'll see, because then we're getting into June, which is when we celebrate Happy Half New Year. So if you're just new to us, every year at the end of June, it's coming up. It's like it's November right now. And we do a whole Happy Half New Year on July 1st, because that's half the year is over. And what are we going to do with the rest of the year? So in May, we're going to be talking about productivity, and then in June, we'll start to celebrate that. So I hope this is helpful to you. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I hope you can get the handout. And I really, really highly recommend that you actually write this out. You have a secret weapon, all of you, and that is that you are a writer. You are so far ahead because you're a writer. Like, that is such a gift, such a gift. Embrace that gift. So many people can't or won't or don't write. You can write about it. Really go there. All right, you guys, and we will see you next week. Have a good day. Or in homeroom tomorrow, perhaps. Or in screen readers tomorrow night. There's that. Or in Instagram in 10 minutes. Bye, guys. So good.